It's now been nearly 3 months since a New Zealand pilot was taken hostage in Indonesia's remote Papua region. The New Zealand government has been attempting to secure his release from the separatists, so far without success. Well, up until this week, Professor Damien Kingsbury had been brokering talks between the two groups, but he told me Wellington has now decided to negotiate with the West Papuan separatists through a different channel.
I was in negotiation with the New Zealand government up until a few days ago, but the New Zealand government decided to go through another channel, and that channel has been unsuccessful. So at this stage, there is no negotiation.
Can you tell us more about what role you played in mediating between the separatist group and New Zealand?
I was in contact with the West Papua TPNB, the separatist group that is holding Mr. Mertens, and I was trying to find a way forward between them and the New Zealand government to get Mr. Mertens free. That would have involved some small concessions on the part of the New Zealand government, but in the end they said that they were not prepared to make any concessions and they were going to go through another channel. However, that other channel has not been successful.
Why was there that decision to change from you taking on that mediating role to another channel?
The New Zealand government didn't explain to me why they chose to go through the other channel. However, the person I believe that they have selected to try to find another way forward is a New Zealander. He is well credentialed. He is the former executive director of the Henri Dunant Centre for Humanitarian Dialogue, which is a mediating organisation, and he sits on the UN Secretary General's high-level panel for mediation. So if that's the person, and I think it is, then that's a very well-qualified person. The problem is it's not a person who is trusted by the TPNPB, and in this particular situation, trust is at a premium.
So do you believe that's why that channel has failed, and where does it leave negotiations now?
The reason why it failed essentially is because there was a meeting between this person and a representative of the TPNPB in which the TPNPB was told that there would be no negotiation, and this person reported back to the New Zealand government that the TPNPB had accepted that proposition. That was incorrect. They have not accepted the proposition that there would be no negotiation. It basically leaves the New Zealand government back where they started. They've got a New Zealand national being held hostage by the TPNPB in the highlands of West Papua, and they have no channel now of communication. Yesterday, the TPNPB released a statement saying that they would not be releasing any further proof of life videos, and that they would not be negotiating through what they consider to be illegitimate channels.
And I understand you're still in contact with the group, and even though you're not in that official negotiating role, you are still trying to secure Mr. Mertens' release. How so?
I'm still in very regular contact with the group, and I am still trying to find a way to have Mr. Mertens released. The TPNPB group that is holding him, however, have said that they will keep him indefinitely, and I believe that they will do that. So the real question now is how they can secure his safety within a context of escalating violence. The Indonesian military has been launching a number of search and rescue missions to find Philip Mertens. They have not been successful. There's been at least 2 clashes that I'm aware of. A number of Indonesian soldiers have been killed. The local community has suffered very badly. There's thousands now of internally displaced persons in that area. People have been forced from their homes. And there's been a report that we haven't been able to verify, but which sounds fairly legitimate, that the Indonesian military is now using aircraft to drop explosives on what they think might be TPNPB positions. Now, all of this means that the situation that Mr. Mertens in has become very much more dangerous than it was even a few weeks ago.
Is Indonesia involved in any of the negotiations?
No, Indonesia has refused to engage in negotiations. they have chosen a military option trying to resolve this issue.
So as you say, it appears that the situation is getting more risky for Mr Mertens. How do you think attempts to secure his release can move forward from here?
Well, the dangers that Mr Mertens faces are, first of all, of course, being out in the jungle, not having access to medical support. Now, he says it's quite healthy and that's fantastic, but clearly being out of medical reach in an environment in which disease and injury is prevalent, I think is risky in itself. Of course, the Indonesian military is engaging in a high-level military campaign now, and if and when they find the TPNPB group that has Mr Mertens, there will almost certainly be a violent conflict. Mr Mertens could well end up being a victim of that, as indeed hostages were in 1996 when a similar situation arose. If Mr Mertens is harmed, the Indonesian military will undoubtedly say that it was the TPNPB's fault. And of course, then there's the issue of the aircraft which are said to be dropping explosives in the area, and that's fairly indiscriminate. So if those explosives are indeed being dropped, as Mr Mertens has said they are, then he could well be a victim of those. So he's in a very difficult situation now. And of course, if there's no negotiation, then it's going to be very difficult to have him released. Clearly, the TPNPB has claims that they want to see recognised, and New Zealand can go some way towards recognising some of those claims, and that might result in Mr Mertens being released. But at this stage, the New Zealand government saying that they will not negotiate, they will not make any concessions, and that leaves the situation at a stalemate.
And when you were in contact with the group, what did you feel was the likelihood of Mr Mertens' release?
We've got to keep in mind two things. That the first position of the separatist group that is holding Mr Mertens was that if their demands were not met, they would kill him. Now, we moved away from that very early on in the process. So that was a significant concession on their part, a welcome one, of course. But beyond that, I think they've acted in good faith. The New Zealand government over the past couple of months has made a number of requests of the TPNPB, which have been through me, which the TPNPB has fulfilled. So I think they're acting in good faith. And if they say that if they can reach an accommodation around a negotiated position, then that they will release Mr Mertens. I believe that they will release Mr Mertens if they have at least some of their demands met. If the demands are not met, then I can't see any way forward for this process. I think it will stay pretty much as it is for the indefinite future.
An uncertain future. Professor Damien Kingsbury, thanks so much for talking to The World tonight.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.